Congress approves the Brady Bill.
The Brady Bill. The limitation on handgun purchases was enforced on November 30th, 1993, when President Clinton signed the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, otherwise known as the Brady Bill. This reasonable and mild law would require 5 business days to pass between the future purchasers seeking a handgun and the actual purchase date. Within these 5 days, local law enforcement officials must conduct a background check. The Brady Bill would ultimately limit the rights and increase the responsibilities of the citizens wanting to purchase a handgun. America has experienced many uncontrollable violent acts due to the lack of handgun laws. The Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act states: A. The licensee must be at least 21 years of age. B. The licensee has presented a valid government issue identification card, such as a driver's license or social security card, and proof of residency within the jurisdiction, such as a utility bill, lease, or telephone bill. C. The licensee has passed a background check based on a fingerprint. D. The licensee has passed a safety training course, and the license would be valid for a 2-year period, and the licensee would be required to report the theft or loss of a handgun to the local enforcement. By setting these regulations, weapon distributors are now required to sell handguns responsibly. Though it would be easy and seem beneficial to sell all to the public, distributors are expected to follow the law and be sure that each buyer is a worthy one. It was a tough struggle to pass the handgun bill and for it to become a law. Americans were very opposed to the idea of gun control and the rights that it would demolish. Before the Brady Bill, American citizens were allowed to purchase any firearm at any time, and when purchasing them, they could purchase any gun, including handguns. Sales personnel were simply expected to have the buyer fill out paperwork stating that they were not a felon, fugitive, dishonorably discharged, or under prosecution. And after it was filled out and signed, they could purchase as many weapons as they wished. Through the Brady Bill, citizens are now required to have a background check and also only purchase 1 handgun per transaction. As the laws for purchasing a handgun changed and required more information from the purchaser, the citizens began to realize the amount of accountability they needed to have. By only selling weapons to responsible citizens, America was hoping to decrease the percent of deaths from firearms per year. The Brady Bill would ultimately limit the rights of the citizens by making it a law that they would have to be more responsible for their actions in order to own a handgun. The Brady Bill was an element of President Bill Clinton's crime bill after the assassination attempt of Ronald Reagan. In the 1981 assassination attempt, the White House Secretary James Brady was shot in the head, causing a major brain injury. He was pronounced dead at the hospital momentarily, but somehow survived and made a magnificent recovery. However, he would be in a wheelchair and unable to continue his duties. Due to this, he protested and fought for the Brady Bill. However, the National Rifle Association was highly against the idea and refused to pass it. It wasn't until 1993 when Bill Clinton signed the Brady Bill that regulations on buying and owning handguns finally changed. In the 1998, background checks would be required through the FBI's National Instant Criminal Background Check System database. Though the stipulations put on citizens' rights through the Brady Bill seem minor and simple to follow, the legalization of the bill took many years. From the assassination attempt in 1981 to the passing of the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act in 1993, there were many House and Senate debates, protests by citizens, and multiple amendments applied. On February 4th, 1987, the Brady Bill was introduced for the first time at the 100th Congress. The original assembly of the Brady Bill required a 7-day waiting period. However, it wasn't until June of 1988 that the House Judiciary Committee passed the bill as an amendment of the Omnibus Drug Initiative Act. At the first floor vote of the Brady Bill, it failed in the House by a vote of 228 to 182. At the 101st Congress, they reintroduced the Brady Bill on January 4th, 1989. This version requested a mandatory waiting period once the nationwide felon identification system becomes operational. This time, when the House Judiciary Committee approved the bill, it never reached the floor for a vote of the full House. Though many attempted to have the bill reach the floor, it failed due to the controversy it contained. When the 101st Congress adjourned, the Brady Bill died once again. The Brady Bill was introduced at the 102nd Congress for the 3rd time, Due to the growing support among the public, finally on May 8, 1991, the House of Representatives passed the Brady Bill with a vote of 239 to 186. By passing this, the fight for the Brady Bill was anything but over. The 1991 edition of the Brady Bill required law enforcement officials to conduct background check in 7-day waiting period. The Senate considered the Brady Bill an amendment to the crime bill. On June 28, 1991, Senator Ted Stevens offered to discard the Brady Bill and replace it with the Stevens Amendment, which would require an instant check bill. Though that was a great idea, the main flaw that associated it was that there wasn't available technology to conduct a background check immediately, ultimately failing this amendment to pass. Immediately following the failing vote of the Stevenson Amendment, Senator Robert Dole announced that he and Howard Metzenbaum had comprised, resulting in a change of a waiting period from 7 days to 5, and that the waiting period would no longer exist as technology made an instant background check feasible. They finally passed the Brady Bill with a 67-32 vote. The Senate then sent it to the House-Senate Conference Committee to compare and discuss the differences in the two versions. After agreeing on the version that the Senate had passed, a report was filed and needing approval from both the House and the Senate. The Brady Bill was continually being linked to crime bill, making it highly unlikely that it would ever pass through Congress. In an effort to stop linkage and vote on the Brady Bill immediately, the Handgun Control Inc. launched a campaign called Free the Brady Bill on September 1, 1992. Though this national campaign to pass the Brady Bill failed to succeed, it defined gun control as a key issue in the 1992 presidential election. When Bill Clinton was elected president in 1992, the gun control supporters felt confident in passing the Brady Bill, because the first time in history they had a gun control supporter in the White House. At President Clinton's State of the Union address, he stated, "If you'll pass the Brady Bill, I'll sure sign it." And at the 103rd Congress, the Brady Bill stood alone for the first time. And on October 29, 1993, the House Judiciary Subcommittee favorably voted 10-3. On November 30, 1993, the Brady Bill was signed into law by President Clinton and took effect on February 28, 1994, being felt immediately. Within the first 100 days, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms reported that 5% of all attempted handgun purchases were prevented due to the Brady Law. And based on this, at a rate of 100,000 to 2 million, handgun purchasers would be denied their rights due to their criminal history. The ultimate effects of the Brady Bill changed the rights and the responsibilities of citizens seeking a handgun. Due to this mild law, the crime rates of the handguns would decrease, because our criminals no longer would be allowed to buy a handgun legally. Because of the required background check, American citizens became more responsible for their actions because they would be stripped of their rights.